Diablo drama. Honestly, who cares? Path of Exile 2 has completely removed the need to remember that Diablo exists, especially for especially 3. Diablo 2, still a very fine and excellent game, obviously, but all in all, Blizzard is done.
Diablo 3's latest season has erupted into chaos. Path of Exile 2 players have uncovered some surprising loot truths, and Nvidia
Diablo 3 is still existing? I didn't even know.
Claims their newest generation's weakest card matches the performance of their strongest card from last generation. Hey folks, this is
That's big! If only I knew what my video card was that I'm currently using.
Riker, and in this week's news roundup, we'll cover how Path of Exile players are still debating if item rarity is actually worth it. We'll talk about Diablo 3's latest season debacle, as well as Nvidia's new graphics cards doubling down on AI in a big way. Meanwhile, the US Department of Defense just put Tencent on a list you definitely don't want to be on. We'll dive into all that and more.
Oh god, I know the Tencent thing. It's gonna be crazy.
Also got a bit of news about the upcoming Diablo 4 season, which is right around the corner. And as a reminder, folks, if you need any guides or information for Hiker, starting with Path of Exile 2 news.
Okay.
Once the devs came back from vacation, they announced that they'd be focusing this week on hotfixing various bugs in the game while also working on a bigger patch. They called it a restart patch, which just means that they need to take down and restart the server to deploy this patch, as opposed to a hotfix, which gets deployed to the live servers. Some people thought that restart patch meant an economy reset or a character wipe or something. It is none of those things. They then deployed a patch this week with a lot of bug fixes, and among the patch notes was this gem. Note that, unrelated to Delirium Mist, further changes to strongboxes will be made in an upcoming patch to make them less terrible. Yeah.
That is hilarious. By the way, in Path of Exile 1, remember strongboxes? Was strongboxes the first league ever? I can't remember what was the first league, but I was there, boys. And I think it was strongboxes or something like that. And if I remember correctly, when strongboxes came out, it was also kind of horrible because it was like super bad. And then they just buffed it. Path of Exile in general is a very interesting game that has had a uniquely non-stop history of, well, we introduced this mechanic, but it doesn't drop 50 exiles every time you do it. It drops 5, and people get pissed, and they say it's bad mechanic, and everyone wants changes, and then Grinding Gear Games just ups the bravado for the thing and changes absolutely nothing about it, and then suddenly everyone is best mechanic ever. Now, it's funny, but it is true. And if you're a Path of Exile player, you know deep down this is true. And this is probably the most hilarious thing about Path of Exile in general. It's just the fact that a bad mechanic is something typically, except like sanctums and shit, is typically just something that does not drop a lot of currency. It is what it is, boys.
Strongboxes take too long to spawn monsters, and when the monsters finally do spawn, they wander off, and it just takes so long to resolve a strongbox encounter. And the loot is often junk at the end of it. Even if you juice the strongbox, for anyone who isn't aware, you can actually use currency to craft on strongboxes just like you can on other items. It just doesn't really seem worth it to do. I did actually have one amazing strongbox experience. I think it must have been a cartographer strongbox, because after I completed it, a ton of maps dropped. Like, it's almost like a dozen maps. It was one of the most exciting drops I've had in the entire game so far. Now, tomorrow, Sunday, the devs plan to share more details about what to expect in patch.
Oh, by the way, that's true. You can tell what's gonna be inside of the strongbox by its look, by the way.
0.1.1. As for an update on my solo self-found experience, I've continued mapping. I've reached a point now where I'm easily sustaining maps. At the start, it was a struggle, partly because I was doing lower maps, partly because I didn't have any item rarity on my gear.
You know what I'm missing currently? I remember seeing in my recommended feed a DM video about Diablo, not Diablo 4, but Path of Exile 2 drama because Diablo 4 players are accusing of buying boosts in currency and stuff like that. I had that bad boy in my watch later, and I was excited because, you know, reasons. Diablo 4 players getting accused of paying to winning because, reasons. I was excited. And then that video disappeared. Am I tripping? Was that video real? Or did I make it up?
Which isn't going to give you more maps per se, but you're going to get more rare maps, and rare maps are going to have higher multipliers on them, so that you're just going to be getting more stuff in general in those maps, and ergo more maps as well. And I also apparently didn't have my atlas set up properly. Silly me, I set up my atlas to get more higher tier maps, when the optimum strategy to get maps in general is to not do that and go on the southeast path. But I digress. At this point, map sustain doesn't seem to be a problem anymore. I'm really looking forward to getting that map tab so that I can store them all properly now. And I'm running roughly 100 item rarity on my gear now. So not only am I getting more rare maps, I'm also getting more alchemist orbs to juice my maps. I do have to say that I don't love that it feels like you have to start your atlas tree with that southeast setup, like that there's only one viable path to begin with. But overall, I'm still enjoying progressing through the map tiers, earning my atlas points.
Nice.
I finally found boots with 30 move speed. I've been running no move speed for the longest time. So now as a minion build, I am facing the issue of, oh, well, now I'm running ahead of my minions and they're despawning. So I'm trying to be aware of that and move forward only a little bit. Not too fast, keep them on my screen so they don't despawn and die. But man, it just feels so good to be moving faster now. I'm still finding it super rare to find or craft any upgrades of any kind. Again, those boots were like a big highlight for me. I craft on pretty much every item base that my build can use, and I've junked pretty much everything that I've found or crafted. And it's not because my gear is good, my resistances are nowhere close to max. There's tons of room for improvement on my gear.
How is this a thing? Diablo 4 players are... Now, don't get me wrong. Path of Exile 2 does need some adjustments. I am personally of the camp that item rarity, quantity, and all of that shit should not even exist on you. It just shouldn't. You can't change my mind. Don't even try to actually debate about this. I just don't think it's good. Okay? Sacrificing your potential build just so it's actually more worth it to play the game is stupid. It's just a stupid concept, okay? There should be other ways to make it more better. Like, there just should be something to make it better and make up for it, okay? But Diablo players are constantly complaining for some reason about survivability. Because it's true. In Diablo 4, if you play the game, you know that survivability is not an issue. You either one-shot things, and in the super high tiers, you just keep everything stunned. And that's it. You never lose HP because everything is stunned. And then you need to evade some boss one-shot stupid mechanic from a blood spawn or whatever. Okay? And that's it. In Diablo 4, these things don't matter. The defenses don't matter. Resistances don't really... Okay, they do matter. But it's kind of stupid. You can get them all for free and easy. But Diablo 4 players are so struggling with getting all of the resistances to everything. Jesus Christ. I don't understand. How can you struggle so bad with this? How could you take everything that drops and you craft upon it and you still get no upgrades? How is that a thing? I am so lost.
Gear overall, but it just feels like without trading, gearing is really slow in PoE 2. And my preference would be to play the game without trading. I prefer when a self-found isn't a challenge mode, but just another equally viable way to play the game. And it just feels like currently I'm going to have...
I also agree that honestly, self-found should not be a challenge mode per se, but that there should exist some kind of challenge.
Have to eventually bite the bullet and start trading at some point. I still like the game overall enough to put up with that, but I would really, really rather a game in which I could just get all my own stuff by myself without trading with people and not feel like I'm severely disadvantaged and just not getting any upgrades. I understand no matter what game you play, trading is always going to be a huge advantage, but in some games where you have trading, you still feel like if you don't trade, I can still do everything, I can still feel really good about upgrades and stuff, as opposed.
Yeah, but that's already how it is. I don't understand this reasoning. This is I never understood this reasoning for this, and this exists in World of Warcraft. This exists literally in almost every game. There are people who are like, I'm doing this thing as my character. I am doing this as I want, but I will be pissed about someone who's more powerful than me because of whatever fucking reason. I hate when people do that. Dude, you're playing your own game. You can choose to do it. You can choose to not do it. It's fine, whatever you pick. There's no right or wrong answers here. But if you pick solo self-found, or you're not playing solo self-found but you're still not trading, why the fuck are you getting mad at other people who are trading and getting stronger because of it? You literally chose your own path. Why are you getting mad at other people? Why do you need to bring down other people?
Opposed to just completely starved. Now, speaking of mapping, there's this bug, or I guess you can say it's an exploit. I mean, it's the most innocuous exploit, but you can zoom your atlas out more than the game normally allows, which actually gives you a really nice view, a more zoomed out view. So to do it, basically open up your atlas, zoom in, and then while zooming out, hit escape. That's going to close the atlas. Then once you open the atlas again, you're going to be zoomed out further than the normal max. It would be great if they just make it a feature that we can zoom out this much. I would also love to see more quality of life added to the atlas in general, like filters where we can highlight, you know, like maybe just maps with bosses on them, or whatever granularity that we want to put in there, maps that have been juiced. You know, search features in general basically would be great. Maybe even allowing us to add bookmarks.
Completely useless. Completely useless. Because you already know where you're going and you're checking the new stuff when it pops, and you remember, or at least should remember unless you're a mouth breather, what is in the opposite direction. It makes no sense for these things to exist.
Marks to certain maps, so we can maybe plan a path, and then we look through our list of bookmarks and we just center the atlas on those bookmarks from our list of bookmarks, so that you don't spend 5 minutes trying to figure out where you want to go in the atlas. Then you realize, oh, I forgot to actually grab a map. You close the atlas, get your map, come back to the atlas, and you can't remember where you were, and you got to spend another 30 seconds going around trying to figure out where you were with the map that you want to put in. Now, as a follow-up to last week's video, when I said that there seems to be evidence that item rarity has a soft cap of around 100, soft cap isn't the right term to be using here.
Diminishing rate. I don't know about this, by the way, but I assume it's the same as Diablo 2, diminishing returns. For example, in Diablo 2, if you have 450 magic find, that's pretty much cap. You don't really need more. Realistically, you can go up to 600, and then there's still at least some slight benefit you have, but anything above 600 is literally so diminished it's not worth anything.
We're really talking about diminishing returns. So basically, stacking 100 item rarity on your gear seems to be more than enough to get you into the category of getting the best drops possible.
Yes.
And community member Slippery...
And that is stupid. That is just one more reason to not have this on gear.
Jim 8 spent 16 days collecting data, farming 1,800 rare monsters and recording their drops and putting it all in a nice spreadsheet. He's got a whole video talking about it. Do check out his video. And he equipped different item rarities while doing all this to measure at item rarity 0, item rarity 100, item rarity 750, an absolutely ridiculous, disgusting amount of item rarity where he sacrificed everything. He barely had a playable build at that point just to stack all the item rarity. And his conclusion, after all of this effort, is that item rarity isn't broken, despite what a lot of people say. So, as an example that he gave, while running 100% item rarity, he got 10% more currency drops than with 0 item rarity. And with a whopping 750% item rarity, he got only 20% more currency drops than with 0. What he found to be a bigger multiplier was juicing the map itself, as opposed to having item rarity on your gear, which would then double the amount of extra drops that he was getting. So again, here evidence is pointing towards more than 100 item rarity being overkill for most people in most circumstances, and that item rarity isn't actually this catastrophically destructive thing that must be removed from the game at all costs. I still personally am not fond of item rarity on gear.
I mean, no, it still should be removed, because think about it. If 100 is the efficient thing, and it's not really that hard to get 100 for most builds in reality, well, it kind of is sometimes, I guess, but you get the point. 100 item rarity is not exactly the end-all be-all, right, to get? So the problem is, if you're not running it, you're effectively kind of wasting your time playing the game. That is going to be the look that a lot of people are giving this situation, because it's not such a big deal. It doesn't impact your character that much, but if you're not running it, you're literally missing out on stuff.
As an affix, but if Slippery Gem 8's conclusions are correct, then I don't think it's that big of a deal if things stay as they are. Overall, Path of Exile 2's early access is probably the best early access title I've ever played in terms of feeling like a complete and polished game.
True.
1 month in, and it's still one of the gone again. Alright, on to some Diablo news.
Let's
Last week's
go.
rumor turned out to be true. Diablo 1 is indeed coming to Game Pass, Ultimate, and PC Game Pass on January 14th. I think I'm overdue for another Diablo 1 playthrough.
Oh.
For Diablo 4, we're getting the next
Who cares about Diablo 4? Can we actually get some updates on Diablo 2? Because Diablo 2 Resurrected is getting slowly updates. And the hilarious thing is, Diablo Resurrected, Diablo 2 aka, is at such a power level that it can actually benefit from, overpowered shit like in Diablo 4 a lot, until it actually starts to suffer. So, Blizzard, in my opinion, is intentionally not adding anything to Diablo 2, because the reality is, at this point, it is so easy to actually make Diablo 2 better than Diablo 4 as a player experience. And they're not gonna do it. They're not gonna obviously do it. That is so pathetic, Blizzard.
We have a live stream update on January 16th at 11 a.m. PST, in which they'll talk about the new quest line coming with the season.
Yeah, you see, this is why Diablo 4 players can't actually get the right shit, because everything is granted to them, and these monsters are never gonna hit you because reasons.
Other changes and more. Of course, they're going to have the Q&A as usual. And as a reminder, we're expecting Season 7 to start on January 21st, and I've got videos covering the season theme and my initial impressions. Again, you can find that on my website. Also in D4 news, an old interview with Rod Fergusson has resurfaced for some reason. Videogamer.com posted an article titled, Diablo 4 lead claims players don't actually want classic Diablo back, as modern games are too consumptive. Which really feels like it's painting Rod.
I haven't missed that. Well, I actually have missed that. I just said the opposite for some reason. I have not seen that. But yeah, I would not be surprised if Rod retard Fergusson actually said something that stupid. Guy kills Halo, fucking off to the next thing, kills... that he has killed 2 games before joining Diablo 4 and now killing it. Amazing. Like, the ineptitude ladder is just something that should be written songs about.
In a you think you do, but you don't kind of light. And the article quotes from a Windows Central interview from June 11th, a long time ago. And here is Ferguson's full quote. When you launch something, you're always doing it with a set of assumptions. We had the assumption that Diablo 4 was meant to be more Diablo 2-like. And so one of the assumptions was that people were going to be okay with the long grind for the uniques, or an uber unique in particular, because in Diablo 2, it can go years. You can go 3 years before you find the uber you're looking for. And in fact, there's something called the Holy Grail, which is getting one of everything, which literally takes years. And so we were like, okay, this is what people love about the progression.
By the way, yes, that is a real name, not made up. The Holy Grail is getting every unique in the game.
Progression of D2, that idea of that very long chase. And so we launched that way with D4, and we found out very quickly that if you don't give me my Uber in my season, then I'm upset. And so we're like, okay, wow, okay.
Yeah, you were supposed to ignore these mouth-breathing morons. You were supposed to not take them seriously because they're the Diablo 3 losers that you pandered to and destroyed the game to in the first place. You were supposed to ignore them. But no, instead, you didn't ignore them. You kind of did your own thing randomly, didn't listen to everyone. Then that failed. People kept on leaving. And now the only people that are left are these mouth-breathing morons who are screaming exactly this thing. And now you're listening to them, which means no one is ever going to play Diablo 4 again. You did this. You!
And now we actually have an Uber unique currency to craft an Uber. If you're not finding the Uber, you can actually go make it yourself now, which is very different. It's just a kind of a recognition of how much players have changed in 20 years. So yeah, Rod isn't claiming that we don't want a classic Diablo game. He's saying that players complained about Diablo 2 style drop rates in D4, and so they changed the drop rates in direct response to player feedback. You know, back in the day, World of Warcraft devs said in response to requests for a vanilla WoW server, you think you do, but you don't, as in, you think you want to go back to the classic game experience, but actually you really don't want to go back to that. We know better than you. And they were ultimately proven wrong. They gave in, they made WoW Classic, and it was a success. And Blizzard literally already made Diablo 2 Resurrected. They did this already. If they thought...
They didn't do shit. Diablo Resurrected was just a cash grab.
People didn't want a classic Diablo game, they wouldn't have made a product for people who want a classic Diablo game. But onto Diablo 3.
No, that is so disingenuous and sucking Blizzard schlong at the moment. Disgusting.
Free news. Yikes. Okay. We haven't really spoken about Diablo 3 in a while. I mean, we don't talk about it much since D4 came out. And I really wish I had some good news to report here. Diablo 3 Season 33 had begun in October 25th, and its end date was therefore speculated to be around January 26th, right? 3 months. This is based on past seasons. However, it ended abruptly and without warning on January 5th.
Who cares? It's literally probably just bots playing the game at this point.
In Europe and Asia, and it would only be a matter of time before presumably it would also end in America. Community director Adam Fletcher posted on social media, quote, "Heard and got some pings while I've been out, and I have production checking on this early end. This shouldn't have ended today, so something is funky. We'll provide an update once I hear back." He later added, quote, "So looks like some miscommunication internally here on some teams, but we are looking to stop it from ending on US realms, and are looking to getting it back up for EU and Asia. We will provide an update on those once they have started back up." And after this, the season on the America server also ended. Now, at some point after the season ended worldwide on all servers, Blizzard did manage to turn the season back on again, but that caused a whole other headache by itself. Once the season was back on, some players couldn't create new seasonal characters or play their old characters. And for those who could play, they had their season...
Who the hell is still playing Diablo 3 at this point? That is my question.
Seasonal characters returned to seasonal status, yes. But you know how at the end of a season, everything gets yeeted onto your non-season server, all your Paragon gets transferred, your stash and all that? Well, now that their seasonal character was back in the season, their Paragon didn't transfer back. So now they're a seasonal character with 0 Paragon. And everything in their stash didn't come back over either. So
okay, who literally cares? Like, my god, if you're playing Diablo 3 at this point, that's your own fault. We're making fun of Diablo 4 currently, but my god, if you're playing Diablo 3, I just... is there an excuse? Last Epoch, eh?
8 gig update on Steam this week with no patch notes. Once people started asking questions, the devs clarified that this was the Unity 2021 engine upgrade.
Yeah, this is still such a good game. I love it. I can't wait until the next season.
Which should not affect anything player...
This is perfect, okay? Listen, Last Epoch is still... I don't know what I like more, Path of Exile or Last Epoch at this point. Last Epoch just does so many things personally right for me.
Facing, and they don't expect players to notice anything different at all. The devs have also been teasing what to expect in the coming months. Big things. It seems. And among other things, we're getting better controller support as something on the menu, and they've also hugely hinted at the ability to send shards straight to storage rather than first into your inventory and then you gotta
Oh God, it's about fucking time. Though I do understand the appeal of shards being in inventory first and then to the storage, because it's kind of, you kind of see, whoa, I farmed a lot, but you know deep down you know that you kind of didn't farm anything.
Click a button to eat them into storage. Then in some Nvidia news, we got the reveal of the GeForce RTX Blackwell series this week.
Okay, listen. GeForce NTX RTX B9 Nvidia cards are so last season. My Samsung RAM Extra Deluxe 225 is currently running the moon landing perfectly on my Samsung watch. Okay? It's not even close. I don't care about this crap. If you actually understand what these numbers do, I got news for you, buddy. AI is gonna replace you. And you know what's gonna do that? Me! From finance, because we are gods. We are the ones that decide everything. We are the top of the society before becoming a millionaire and billionaire and flying to Epstein Islands, okay? We! You're stupid, whatever, doesn't matter. Finance dictates the world. Ah!
In other news, Tencent, the Chinese mega corporation that partially or fully owns a ton of game dev studios and a bunch of other stuff as well, has been designated as a Chinese military company.
Well, Tencent is literally a part of China. It's probably getting supported by the Chinese government. It does literally everything it wants, and China's not going to miss out. So the fact that the US wants to crack down on Tencent actually is a good thing, in my opinion. Now, it's kind of sad considering Tencent is the only game company that actually makes women that look like women and men that look like, steroid-riddled super creatures, which is awesome. But yeah, they still kind of deserve the clap down, I'm not gonna lie. Anyway, that was Riker, 10 out of 10. Bye!